This video is an excerpt from our weekly podcast. Go and watch the full podcast, check the link in the description of this video, or support us on Patreon at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. EA's the patent that's come out of the woodwork that EA filed in October 2020, and it was made public a couple of weeks ago. EA calls it the dynamic difficulty adjustments. I think with
Activision tried to do one, which was wasn't it based on if someone kills you in Call of Duty with a better gun than what you've got, they would then upsell you that gun. You got killed with this shotgun. If you want to kill them, buy it now. Type.
What a load of bollocks. If anyone's interested in reading the details of the patent, I'm just going to gloss over some of the main features in this discussion now, but there's a link in the description to the full patent if you want to read through it. I did skim over it, and there's a couple of more digestible articles from GameSpot and GamesIndustry.biz down there too, if you want the TLDR on it, basically. It could be easy to interpret this patent as just something that won't really affect them. Like a dynamic difficulty is supposed to just change the difficulty of your game as you're playing. It doesn't sound too problematic, let's say. I've got a flair for the dramatic, right? I'm about to say something that sounds a little bit more... The way I see this, it's something that's sucking the soul out of gaming, and it's a huge problem for gamers for those of you who are paying attention. What it is an indication of the insidious descent into statistic-driven gameplay design. But I'll get into the nitty-gritty of all that in just a bit. Let's jump into what the patent is to begin with. So as it reads on the patent, based on the determined expectation duration of gameplay, the difficulty level of the video game will be automatically adjusted. Basically, what they're saying is they're calculating what your expected duration of gameplay is. Like, how are they calculating that is the question you ask. Well, they answer that in the patent. The system can, quotes, review historical user activity data with respect to one or more video games to generate the game retention prediction model that predicts an indication of an expected duration of gameplay.
Oh my goodness, what is that sentence?
A what?
So what that basically means is it looks at your gaming history, I assume how you've played other EA games, not just the game that you're playing, and based on how you've played or the statistics on how you've played the previous games or other EA games, it will determine how long you're likely to play the current one. So it's basically using your information, your user activity against you, which is problematic for a couple of reasons. But why is it important to them how long you're playing? This is like the easiest question of all, but they come out and they say it. Quotes, often, games that are too difficult or too easy will result in less enjoyment for a user. Consequently, the user is likely to play the game less. So basically,
do they really need a patent to figure that one out? Didn't they know that? Isn't that day one?
What they're saying is that if the game's too easy or too difficult, you will enjoy it less, so you're likely to play the game less. If the game is too difficult, the system will tweak it to make it easier for you. It'll make it easy if it's difficult, right? That's clear, right? We understand now what the patent does, but a couple of questions, right? Some people not thinking about this too deeply might think, well, that seems like a good thing to do. Are there applications where this could work? I'm playing devil's advocate. Obviously, I don't feel entirely positive towards this, but Henry, just putting the question to you, can you imagine a situation where this might be beneficial for you as a gamer?
No. I mean, dynamic difficulty scaling or whatever the hell they've called it, it kind of sounds like a fun buzzword. I don't play games to be dogpiled and have my balls stepped on like Dark Souls or anything in that sort of world, but I like a little bit of challenge. But imagine it for a community like the Dark Souls community or the Souls-like, difficulty shouldn't scale. Part of the reason those games are so popular is because it's fixed. Like, there is one difficulty level, and that's what you should stick at. And I'm not, obviously, the EA has nothing to do with that, but I think that principle is right. Difficulty levels can be a tricky subject because some people believe they should just be completely scrapped and the game should be as difficult as the developer intended, and that's it for artistic reasons or whatever. But I don't believe having scalable difficulty means anything, because if you start playing better, it's going to get harder, so you're not actually making any progress. And if you start playing worse, you're not going to be punished for that because the game's just going to get a lot easier. I feel like you're not going to learn anything. I don't mean learn as a person or anything, wishy-washy like that. I mean, you're not going to learn the game. If you keep getting beaten because you're making a mistake, you're using the wrong weapon, or they've got a shield up and you're not using the right gadget to bring the shield down or something. If you can't do that, then the game's just going to be really lenient and you're not going to actually be good at it. I mean, I suppose not everyone wants to be good at it. That's
I mean, to play devil's advocate, I played Last of Us 2 recently. I have real trouble with stealth games games, like especially with the controller, and I did have to knock it down to the easiest. I know I'm a scrub, I know, but I had to knock it down, the difficulty down, just to get through it, because I don't know, I just wasn't enjoying getting killed all the time and having to restart. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not a glutton for punishment. I like actually achieving something in games and getting through. So just to play devil's advocate, I can see how that would work. I'm trying to be positive as possible.
You're trying, you're reaching.
And the problem being that I could just do what I did already. There's already options in the difficulty options to change down the difficulty if I want to. Why do they have to put a pattern on this and make this undetectable? That's their own words. They want this to be undetectable so that the player has no knowledge of the fact that the game is changing difficulty on the fly.
I just don't think that's in any way beneficial. Part of the appeal of difficulty, or difficulty levels rather, is you set it to hard and then you beat it on hard. Going back to Last of Us 2, I played it twice. First run I did it on normal difficulty or hard difficulty, I can't remember. And then on New Game Plus I played it on the 1-up, which is either hard or grounded. It was a way harder game, obviously, and I had way more engagement in the combat scenarios, like enemies flanking you and stuff, and I thought that was really great. If they scaled as I was doing it, then what's the point? I don't know, I just don't buy it. I'm not overcoming the obstacle, you're just pulling it out of the way.
It takes control away from you, which is, I think, the biggest gripe with it. It's like, why are they putting all this money into a pattern in order to try and pull the wool over your eyes over what you're actually doing, what you're achieving? It's like taking control away from you, because I can control the game's difficulty myself. I can go into the options and change that if that's what I want, if that's what I choose. But this method just takes all that away from me, and the whole justification that they want to increase user engagement. They want to stop people from... That gives a good segue to an example from January 2020, where, I don't know if you remember the video that we made on Battlefield 5, where they were changing the time to kill. And they'd done it like flip-flop 4 times on how many bullets it took to kill a player at range. And it was flip-flopping, and they kept changing it. DICE's justification was that they just didn't want newer players getting frustrated and leaving the game. And that was pissing off all the original players, the fans of the game, the players who were playing it for a long time, because it was like running up to Christmas time. Christmas time is like flooded with loads of new players. I want to piss them off, so we'll nerf all the guns, wait till the Christmas time's over, get people hooked on the game, and then we'll change the time to kill back again just to please the hardcore gamers who stick around. It's just another indication of how these AAA service-based games are being created these days. They're not being created for the gameplay experience in mind, because that's been superseded by user engagement, and that's all they're trying to push. Especially, when microtransactions are involved, or there's an online store, they want people playing their game rather than someone else's game for longer, the more chance of buying those microtransactions. And that's why the hierarchy of these gameplay design decisions is changing. Like
100%.
And this is like what underlines it for me, and this is what gets me to, this is why I was so dramatic at the very beginning, because I see this as like the insidious gameplay design decisions, which they're prioritizing engagement over actual good gameplay design, or where's the
simulated engagement rather than making something engaging. Instead of making something you want to play more of, they're trying to bend the rules of their existing thing. Instead of making those games better, they're just trying to psychologically manipulate you into keep playing. If you're finding it too easy, we'll make it a little bit harder. If you're finding it too hard, we'll make it a little bit easy. See, you're being rewarded constantly. We're keeping you right in that. We're edging you, baby. We're not going to blow your load just yet.
Exactly. Yeah. Just really in just a little bit. And we see this throughout the games industry. Ubisoft have their own way of dealing with this. It's this, they just pack their games with full of so much shit that keep you playing forever and ever and ever, and make it really, really grindy. And then they say, oh, by the way, you can make it less grindy if you just pay for microtransactions, speed boost, XP boost microtransactions. Mm-hmm. That's Ubisoft's way of keeping their user engaged, is by just bloating their games with loads of additional like systems and stuff. Looking at you, Assassin's Creed. This is just an indication of how bad game development is in the AAA sphere. And I know this is very dramatic. What I call this is the boardroom method of game development, or the statistics-driven game development, as I like to call it. So basically, they're sitting around the boardrooms, they're looking at a spreadsheet, and they're making decisions about game design based on the numbers inside a little box. And that's what's wrong, right? So I'm getting pretty heated now. They're developing games that will place the desired numbers in the correct boxes for them. But where's the imagination? Where's the passion? Where's the creativity? Where's the innovation? Where are the gains in these products. You know what I mean? Where's
the game? Not just
where's the game?
A means to manipulate people into spending more money. One of the things that's kind of wigging me out about this is it's EA, right? EA primarily do multiplayer type experiences. Multiplayer difficulty, the whole point of that is that it's based on player versus player most of the time. Like most of their games are PvP. So how can you dynamically scale a multiplayer game like that? Surely that's not what they're trying.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I don't want to assume that EA would do the smart thing and stay well away from that sort of multiplayer meddling.
Because that would be a huge mistake.
Because that would be really fucking stupid. But surely that's where it's going. I mean, if it was a game like Jedi Fallen Order, a game that is trying desperately to be a Souls-like but sort of half-arsed it. In that game, if they were trying to simulate dynamically scale difficulty, I could see their reasoning behind it. I wouldn't necessarily like it, but I could kind of see the motive, what they're trying to achieve. I wouldn't like it, I don't agree with it, but I could get it. But then if they were trying to put this in, what do they even make now? Battlefield, do they still exist, or have they given up on that yet? If they put that dynamic difficulty scaling in that for the multiplayer thing, I have no idea how that would work. Like, if you keep getting killed and your kill death ratio is awful, as well in the negative, are they going to give you a little bump, a little advantage or something? Is that what that means? Surely not.
It's all very problematic, and if you're not convinced yet, let's take a game like Anthem, right? Basically, in EA's estimation, the problem with their games is not that they're badly designed. It's not that there was a problem with the game itself. It's that people aren't playing for long enough, and basically what this pattern is them fixing that problem with, if only Anthem was a little easier or a little more difficult, and people might still be playing it. That's bullshit. It's absolutely incoherent reasoning. It makes no sense. And that's why
people are more worried about not having enough stuff to do, not having a decent story, having to sit through loads and loads of bugs, or having to go back to your fucking base every time you wanted to change your damn gear.
BioWare is historically, we've said this many times before, historically do single player games really well. It was EA just like, let's do let's use your good favour that you've won with all your fans. Let's make a service-based game with your single player thing. Let's mesh it all together. Let's make this abortion of a game which should never have been made in the first place, just to try and sell more microtransactions or whatever. It's game design based on figures on a spreadsheet. That's all it is. And that's why there's no passion, creativity, imagination. It's all about the numbers on a spreadsheet, which is why it sucks. So if you're looking for any passion, innovation, all that, people are getting wise now that that's not happening in the AAA game sphere, because all they're after is engagement. All they're after is the numbers on the spreadsheet. You've got to look for indie games. That's why games like Valheim have done really well this year, because it's none of that bullshit. Out of nowhere, it's like on the top player game on Steam, and it's a great example of how the community is wising up and they want something different. They want something fresh. They don't want this bullshit of a paper-thin experience of a game where you're just repeating the same old shit, doing it over and over. It's there to zap your consciousness. It's there to keep you engaged. It's not there for any other reason. It's not there to push the genre anywhere forward. It's there just to make money for them on microtransactions, because you're there like a zombie playing their game for longer than you normally would be. This pattern is just another indication of how low that these companies stoop in order to solve a problem that they've made themselves, which is they think they need to sell a load of microtransactions, and the way they're going to do that is by designing a game around keeping you hypnotized by repeat mechanics or whatever. It's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. All of it.
I mean, maybe some people would like the sound of this. Maybe some people want the game to adapt to them. I just don't see it. I mean, please, enlighten us in the comments. I don't see how this is a good thing. Maybe I'm being totally blind, totally, ignorant to some really obvious, epiphany. Well, I don't see how this helps anyone other than them, other than EA trying to boost engagement with those fun buzzwords, which therefore gives them more opportunities to pepper you with additional monetization.
And for me, it's just another reason why I don't want to play AAA games from EA. It sucks the soul out of gaming. It makes me feel like I'm being exploited. We're only there to serve their ends. The game isn't there to entertain us. The game is there in order to turn us into continually paying customers. And like I said, it makes me not want to play AAA games, or it sours me on the whole thing. So, but if you've got any counterpoints, have you got any counter arguments, let us know down in the comments.
I mean, I'd like to hear them, but press X to doubt.
I might be wrong.
Well, we're never wrong ever on this channel. I never make mistakes. Not every day.
There you have it. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to go and watch the full podcast, head to the description of this video and you'll find a link to our new podcast channel, or head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming and get early access.